Happy Easter! Last Holy Thursday, I speak about the memory. Memory is so important in human life and human history. It is our extraordinary capacity to share learning memories and to store them from one generation to another. Memory grounds our identity in our roots and personality. And today, we celebrate once again the Easter memory. God gave us this memory so we might have life with Him. And we can read the different testimony about the Easter memory accounts in the four Gospels. It describes the successive appearances of Jesus with the Greek word opte, meaning to say, He appeared. It means made Himself seen. Jesus Himself becomes accessible to other people. According to Pope Benedict XVI, there are two different types of testimony, which we may label the confessional tradition and the narrative tradition. The narrative tradition tells of encounters with the risen Lord and the words spoken by Him. The confessional tradition merely establishes the key facts that serve to confirm the faith. It is the fidesque, what must be believed. Both of these traditions have their rightful importance, supporting one another to complete the creed formulae or the formula of faith. The letters of St. Paul is one example of confessional tradition, professing the mystery of resurrection of the body. It's not just affirming as a miracle, but affirming the power of God. In Romans chapter 6, verses 8 to 9, St. Paul says, If then we have died with Christ, we believe that we shall also live with Him. We know that Christ, raised from the dead, dies no more. In this very word of St. Paul, Hezekiah of Jerusalem made a beautiful confession about the resurrection. Hezekiah said, Hidden first in a womb of flesh, He sanctified the human birth by His own birth. Hidden afterwards in the womb of the earth, He gave life to the dead by His resurrection. On the other side, the narrative tradition can be seen in the Gospel by using the word tomb. The tomb is not the central point of the message of the resurrection, but the tomb is nevertheless not to be taken away from the message. There is a need to develop an understanding of the resurrection starting from the empty tomb, to be clearly understood that the burial was not the final state of Jesus' earthly life. And that is the very message of Easter. Christ is risen. The Easter Vigil liturgy is more than a prelude to Easter. It proclaims our sharing, to be a part of memory in the life of risen Christ. It tells us how to live our new life in Christ. We are to proclaim the risen Lord by a life of Christian fidelity, a life of love and mercy. We need to be joyful, to be an Easter person. To be an Easter person even in the length of life, or even in the ordinary time or Advent season of life. To be an Easter person is always at home with God. To learn how to open ourselves to God right where we are. To be an expression of the fullness of life in Jesus, who was now, We have our own emptiness in life. But we should not focus only on our discouragement and emptiness. Rather, we should focus on the risen Christ. Emptiness does not mean that God is not with us. He is there, telling us, do not be afraid. Remember the last sentence in the Gospel, last Good Friday? It says there, in the place where he had been crucified, there was a garden. And in the garden, a new tomb in which no one had yet been buried. Meaning to say, it's an empty tomb. So therefore, in our own emptiness, we can invite Jesus to come, to live with us, to love us, to reign over us. In that way, Jesus can sanctify us and He will give us life and love. The empty tomb of Good Friday is telling us that we can invite Jesus in order to reign in our emptiness. And the empty tomb of Easter invites us to empty ourselves so that we may share and confess the glorious resurrection of Jesus Christ, to become an Easter person in our own narrative way of life. Happy Easter. God bless.